Has China's bold and unexpected new military move in support of Iran left President Trump visibly scared and on edge, even though he recently made a direct offer to Chinese President Xi Jinping regarding the strategic Hormuz Strait? In a moment of apparent desperation amid escalating tensions, Trump has publicly vowed to reopen the vital Hormuz Strait to shipping traffic, just days after his administration shockingly initiated the blockade that disrupted global oil flows. Even after Trump's high-profile promise to restore open passage through the strait, the U.S. Navy continues to maintain its ironclad blockade of the Hormuz Strait, leaving international maritime routes severely restricted and allies frustrated. Following reports of a covert weapons shipment from Beijing and critical assistance from Chinese spy satellites for real-time intelligence, China has now issued a powerful new vow of unwavering support and solidarity to the Iranian regime. Is China now fully prepared and gearing up to join forces directly with Iran in a high-stakes effort to shatter and completely break through Trump's ongoing blockade of the strategically crucial Hormuz Strait? Amid the simmering tensions in the region that have been building for weeks, Iran has reached out directly to China through high-level diplomatic channels to urgently discuss the implications of the ongoing U.S. naval blockade in key strategic waters. In a stark warning during these discussions, Iran explicitly cautioned China about the highly dangerous and far-reaching consequences that could arise from what they describe as provocative U.S. military action specifically in the Hormuz Strait. According to recent reports from reliable sources, Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi held an important phone conversation with his counterpart, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, to address these pressing regional security concerns. The specific details and key highlights of this significant conversation between the two diplomats were exclusively revealed in a detailed Al Jazeera report that was published on April 15. During the call, Araghchi clearly stated that the aggressive U.S. positioning and military deployments in this vital international waterway would inevitably lead to a highly complicated and potentially explosive situation for all parties involved. The Iranian minister went on to emphasize with strong conviction that such provocative military movements by the U.S. in the area pose a direct and serious threat not just to immediate interests but to the broader regional stability across the Middle East. In his response during the phone discussion, as noted in the report, China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi praised the remarkable resilience and steadfast determination of the Iranian people in the face of these mounting external pressures. Wang Yi also reaffirmed with clear assurance Beijing's unwavering readiness and commitment to assist Iran in advancing constructive diplomatic efforts aimed at de-escalating the current crisis. This critical diplomatic call between Iran and China took place on the very same day that U.S. President Donald Trump publicly announced his intention to reopen and secure the Strait of Hormuz amid escalating naval tensions. Trump said, quote, "China is very happy that I am permanently opening the Strait of Hormuz. I am doing it for them, also, and the world. This situation will never happen again. They have agreed not to send weapons to Iran. President Xi will give me a big, fat hug when I get there in a few weeks. We are working together smartly, and very well. Doesn't that beat fighting? But remember, we are very good at fighting, if we have to, far better than anyone else." Iran reportedly used Chinese satellite support to help locate U.S. targets during the war, adding a major new dimension to concerns over Beijing's indirect role in the conflict. According to reports, China gave Iran a capability that could help it target U.S. military bases across the Middle East with far greater precision than before. The Financial Times was cited as the source of the revelation in later reporting, with the Times of Israel highlighting the claim on April 15 as the issue drew wider international attention. Iran had earlier claimed that its strikes on American bases across the Gulf were precise, and the new reporting is now being used to explain how Tehran may have achieved that level of targeting accuracy. Even during the two-week ceasefire, China has faced accusations of continuing to support Iran militarily, including reports that it may be preparing to send new air defense aid. Meanwhile, a China-linked ship was also reported to have passed through the Strait of Hormuz despite Trump's blockade, adding to the impression that Beijing is testing Washington on multiple fronts at once. The U.S. on April 13 officially launched a comprehensive naval blockade aimed specifically at stopping ships from entering or exiting key Iranian ports along the Persian Gulf. However, fresh reports indicated that multiple commercial and cargo ships successfully transited the Strait of Hormuz despite the heavily publicized U.S. blockade efforts. An Iran-linked oil tanker along with several Chinese ships were reportedly able to transit freely amid the ongoing blockade, underscoring potential cracks in the American enforcement. A Chinese tanker sanctioned by the United States sailed through the Strait of Hormuz on April 14. marking a striking development amid the new maritime standoff in the Gulf. The vessel passed through Hormuz despite the US-imposed blockade, according to ship tracking data that showed it successfully made the transit out of the Gulf. Reuters made the claim about the vessel Rich Starry, citing tracking data from LSEG, Marine Traffic, and PLR to document the ship's movement through the strategic waterway. According to the same data, the Rich Starry would be the first ship to make it through the strait and exit the Gulf since the blockade began. Notably, both the tanker and its owner, Shanghai Xianrun Shipping Company, Limited, are under US sanctions, making the passage especially politically sensitive. Reuters reported that sanctions on the Chinese-linked company were imposed because of its dealings with Iran, placing the vessel in the wider network of trade restrictions tied to Tehran. The Rich Starry is a medium-range tanker carrying about 250,000 barrels of methanol, according to the shipping data cited in the reports. The vessel loaded that cargo at its last port of call in Hamria in the United Arab Emirates, adding another regional link to the ship's voyage. Reuters also reported that the Chinese-owned tanker has a Chinese crew on board, based on the available vessel data. An Iranian embassy statement described the Rich Starry as a Malawi-flagged tanker, adding another detail to the growing attention around the ship's transit. Iranian embassy in Ghana wrote on X, and I quote, "Breaking, Rich Starry, a Chinese oil tanker sanctioned for shipping Iranian oil, flying the flag of Malawi, a country with no coastline, just sailed through America's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz." The Navy, with its many big beautiful ships, issued repeated warnings. Reportedly, the tanker's captain upgraded to premium to skip the ads. Edit. We're being told the blockade only applies to countries the US isn't afraid of. That list used to be long. It now fits on Trump's McDonald's receipt, delivered by DoorDash. Unquote. As tensions rise around the Strait of Hormuz, Iran has issued a warning indicating the possibility of further escalation at sea. Iranian officials have suggested that trade routes in the Red Sea could also be affected if the US naval blockade in Hormuz continues. Senior military leaders in Iran stated that maritime movement involving exports and imports may be restricted under such conditions. In addition to Hormuz, Iran has also referenced other strategic waterways such as the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman in its warnings. These statements were reportedly conveyed by the commander of Iran's Khatam al-Anbiya headquarters. Ali Abdullahi stated that Iran's armed forces would act to prevent trade flows if national interests are threatened. Analysts note that any disruption in the Red Sea could involve allied groups in Yemen, including the Houthis, expanding the scope of the conflict. Iran has also indicated that the ongoing blockade could undermine the fragile ceasefire currently in place with the United States. Officials further stated that Iran would take all necessary measures to safeguard its maritime sovereignty.